Boxing Ego here. If you like this video, make sure you hit the like button and also subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon on the top of your screen to get notified when the latest new content drops. 1. Deontay Wilder says Eddie Hearn doesn't want him to fight Joshua. Stay tuned. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button, also subscribe to the channel for the latest and greatest in boxing. If you want to become part of the gang notification gang, please hit the bell icon. Shout out to the super chats, channel donations, the Venmo donations, and the Patreon family. We working. Also, shout out to boxingnewsonline.net, link in the description. They have an interview with Deontay Wilder exclusive, and he said some interesting things. And he's talking about this whole notion that he's pricing himself out, asking for 50-50, right? And if he priced himself out in the fight with Joshua, Wilder says that's just something Eddie Hearn has to say because he really does not want this fight. But he's said too much. So the next thing to do strategy-wise is to put it on the purses. We're both putting our lives on the line. We're risking everything for people's entertainment. Give the people what they want, and let's make the fight happen. He's a fighter, I'm a fighter, and that's all that matters. Let's see who's the best. If they don't want to go by that, if they don't want to fight, then so be it. But at the end of the day, I'm still going to be talking. I'm still going to be saying I'm the best until I'm proven wrong, right? He says, in the heavyweight division, I think I'm the best fighter, period. I don't think he's going to survive in that ring with me. And I tell people, don't be surprised if I knock him out in the first round. If I'm talking a lot of rubbish, as they say, then hey, let's find out. Listen, Deontay Wilder is in full beast mode with the pressure. You know what I'm saying? If you guys ever seen like the temperament of, like, let's say a puma, jaguar, pit bull, like pumas will like jaguars that go for your skull, stuff like that. Pit bulls that go for the throat. That's what Wilder's doing right here. You know what I'm saying? And I want to give my thoughts. I agree with him in terms of, you got to look at it. Eddie Hearn, his #1 star is Anthony Joshua. You could say maybe at a point, maybe Kell Brook was a bigger star, but he's taking back-to-back losses and he's fighting a relatively unknown Rabchenko. You know what I'm saying? So clearly AJ is the one who's the hot commodity selling out seats. Now, he's promised, oh yeah, the fight must happen in 2018. But I told you, I study the game and I look at patterns and look for patterns. And the pattern I've noticed when it comes to Eddie Hearn is literally every good fight, literally, out of all the decent names that could potentially fight AJ, there's conversation about the purse publicly. Now, AJ and Eddie Hearn have both kind of played this like civilized, distinguished gentleman British approach where, like, oh, we don't handle our business on Twitter and we handle our stuff behind the scenes. But it's constantly Eddie Hearn, in my opinion, who keeps talking about pricing to the public in media interviews and saying, hey, we got to overpay these guys. These guys are getting paid more than they're worth. Oh, Joseph Parker wants this. We got to pay him 7 times more. Deontay Wilder's not being realistic. Tyson Fury's not being realistic. He has to sign the Matchroom. You know what I'm saying? So you got to look at the pattern. What is that all about? Again, a lot of people, see, I know what's happening. Wilder's putting an immense amount of pressure, and it created a backlash, especially with Joshua doing that one interview with Johnny Nelson on Sky, where he says, oh, we'll fight Wilder when I say so, when the time's right, possibly 2018, maybe 2019, 2020. That was what really kicked it off. And since then, Wilder's been going full steam ahead and putting even more pressure, and the fans have been putting more pressure on seeing this particular fight, right? And as a result, now the fans who, you know what I mean, let's say you're from the UK or you're just a heavy AJ supporter, a lot of the radical fans, now when it comes to the purse, they're using anything they can cling on to find a way to say and try to reverse it and act like Wilder doesn't want the fight. Listen, I highly doubt, in my honest opinion, my honest assessment, I doubt Wilder would be doing all of these interviews, all of these call-outs, post-fight interview call-outs, if he really did not want the fight, right? People are using the 50-50 as a guise to detract, just like they use Dillian White. Because, see, you got to, like I said, look at the game, study the rules. Eddie Hearn cleverly threw out the name Dillian White, which, again, Wilder versus Dillian White, not a terrible fight. It's not like horrible, but it's also, why should a champion have to go through Dillian White, who lost to the guy that he's been calling out, for us to see that? You know what I'm saying? And then Eddie Hearn's like, hey, I never said he had to fight Dillian White, but you also mentioned the name Dillian White, and now the fans ran with it. You know what I mean? The fans kept saying, oh, Wilder's ducking Dillian White. So to me, what we call that a decoy. That's a decoy. You know what I mean? Like, nobody was even talking about Wilder, Dillian White until Eddie Hearn says, oh yeah, Wilder needs to boost his profile. So that's the first thing. Like I said, study the rules. That's the first thing that these fans started clinging on to, right? Then Dillian White fights Robert Helenius. He wins, but it's not his greatest performance. You know what I mean? Certainly not a performance that I would say is like, damn, you absolutely deserve a title shot off of that. You know what I mean? Same thing with even Gerald Big Baby Miller. His Marish Weck, his performance versus him, it was cool, but even himself post-fight, he says he was kind of disappointed, and he liked being a little bit heavier and things like that, and he think that affected him, blah, 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 blase, blah. You know what I mean? So neither of those guys, to me, coming off those performances, you could say like, damn, they absolutely deserve a title shot. You know what I'm saying? So that was the first like decoy and thing that was put out. Now, after the Robert Helenius performance, they're talking about Dillian White fighting Lucas Brown, right? Who's not even really been active because he's had some failed drug tests and stuff like that. So how do you go from Eddie Hearn mentioning a possible title shot to Dillian White in contention to fight Lucas Brown? So to me, that shows that that's where Dillian White is. He's still in the climbing up the ladder to get a title shot stage, but they try to expedite it to prevent the Wilder Joshua fight. You know what I mean? And they threw that decoy out there because, again, why is he not fighting? Like, why are they talking about Joseph Parker and AJ? Why are they not talking about an AJ versus Dillian White rematch? You know what I mean? Because they know the bigger fight is Joseph Parker, and there's more implications, and it's a unification. So, I mean, I really agree with what Wilder's saying. He said Eddie Hearn has to say that because he doesn't want the fight. Now, what he's saying is he doesn't want the fight. The gravy train could be disrupted by a guy like Wilder, awkward, has a jab an inch taller than Anthony Joshua, and he hits like a freight train. And this is corroborated by fighters who have sparred both, like Isaac Chamberlain and Leroy Thomas, that I interviewed on my channel. You know what I mean? So now it's instead of Dillian White, the new rationale or the new like excuse or whatever you want to call it is, oh, he's not being realistic. He wants 50-50. But I'm telling you guys, this is how negotiations work. I distinctly remember I applied for a job at Costco years ago, right? Applied for a job at Costco. I went through 2 interviews. They liked my interview, and then they put me in touch with the store manager. Said, hey, can you come in Monday or whatever? And the store manager wants to interview you. I interviewed him. I interviewed with him. Did well. Then they said, hey, can you do a cotton swab drug test with the little Q-tip? I said, yeah, cool. They ran it, passed, right? And the store manager offered me a job. Now, the amount the store manager, he said, how much are you looking to get? And I said a price, right? Let's say, I don't remember what it was. Let's say it was like $19. And their union, Costco's union, he says, oh, for this position, we have a budget. I can't really pay a new associate 19. You know what I'm saying? You would have to work up to something like that. But what we can offer you is $15.75, right? So even though despite my demand and him asking me what I expect to get paid, and I said something that was $3, of course I'm going to overshoot, or I'm going to say a price that if I get it, I'll be really happy. But that's not how negotiations work in terms of like, obviously I took the job. See, this is the moral of the story. I took the job. I worked at Costco for a period of time from 5 a.m. to 10 a.m. And the moral of the story is he didn't just say, oh, you want $18? Get out of my office. And then, you know what I mean? Then we just went our separate ways. So that's what Eddie Hearn is. Oh, Wilder's not being realistic. That's part of negotiating. You know what I'm saying? That's part of the process. He's not being realistic, fine. 50-50, you don't, you know what I'm saying? Crunch numbers. That's what you do. Like I said, at Costco, the store manager didn't just say, oh, you want too much money. We'll find someone else. He reasoned with me and crunched numbers, and based on my experience and based on my interviewing skills, he says, this is what we can give you. And I obviously was willing to take it. Even though I had a higher number, I was clearly willing to work because I worked for Costco. You know what I mean? So I was clearly willing to work for a cheaper price than what I said. But fans are so unrealistic and looking for anything to find a cop-out for this particular fight, to reverse the roles and say, now all of a sudden the guy who's putting on this immense amount of pressure, Deontay Wilder, now doesn't want the fight. They're so desperate that they're trying to cling on to anything. Oh, he wants 50-50. He's pricing himself out. Listen, I've seen situations where people price themselves out, right? And this, to me, this is not one of them. Because a lot of times, like, let's say Billy Joe Saunders with Daniel Jacobs. He said he wants $5 million. You know what I mean? Jeff Horn also said that he wants $4 or $5 million or something to fight Terrence Crawford. But you listen to them and their teams, what they're saying, they're not aggressively calling out Terrence Crawford. They're like, oh yeah, I think I could beat him. But then they're also saying Terrence Crawford is pound for pound the best. And if we fight him, we got to get paid. Wilder's not saying that. He's talking about, I think I can knock out AJ in one round. Don't be surprised. I am the best. You know what I'm saying? So he's not talking like it's just money shit. You know what I'm saying? But obviously he wants to make sure he's taken care of. So check out the link in the description. I agree with Wilder. I think it's bullshit to say he's pricing himself out here. Even if he's asking for 50-50, the bottom line is it's a big fight. Like, even, like I said, Billy Joe Saunders versus Danny Jacobs, that's a good fight, real good fight for boxing fans. But it would never be as big as Wilder versus Joshua, because Billy Joe Saunders, from what I heard, he's a gypsy traveler, and some people in the UK don't like him. AJ is loved, so AJ is clearly a bigger UK star than Billy Joe Saunders. Plus, we're talking about heavyweights, and Wilder has a good momentum and platform right now after the Bermane-Stiverne knockout, especially if he beats Luis Ortiz. So you guys take it how you want, but I feel how I feel, and that's what it is. And like I said, the proof is in the pudding. It's just every time I hear about a Tyson Fury, Joseph Parker fight or Wilder fight, it's always these guys want unrealistic, and AJ makes so much and he's selling so much. And like I said, in the end, you have to look at what's being said and so Eddie Hearn, if you can't get it right as a promoter, that's part of negotiating, people. You know what I mean? So if you can't get it right to get these fights made, right, then your fighter's just going to keep going through fighting people that are decent to the fans, don't really care about seeing that fight. You know what I'm saying? And then he'll never be able to be undisputed. He'll never become a billionaire like he said he wants to become. You know what I mean? Because you have to go through certain legacy fights and certain challenges that would make you that superstar. You know what I mean? If you beat Deontay Wilder, that can enhance your U.S. profile. Klitschko, he's from Ukraine. You know what I'm saying? He's not from the U.S. So to me, Joshua has never really beat a name as big as Wilder from the U.S. Charles Martin, not a big name. Dominic Breazeale, not a big name. You know what I mean? So beating Wilder, not only would you be a champion, but that would be your biggest U.S. victory, your biggest U.S. name. Like Lennox Lewis, when he fought his fighter of the time, he had beat, you know what I mean, Shannon Briggs and stuff. But when he beat Mike Tyson, he's undeniable. He was like a big known name in the United States. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, you got to get it right. And I firmly believe if fights like Canelo versus Triple G were hard to make and then they got it done, even though, and see, like I said, promoter tricks. In that Canelo Golovkin situation, De La Hoya and his team, they threw out something like what Eddie Hearn's doing. Oh, 50-50 is not realistic. Doesn't mean you just drop the ball and don't make the fight. You know what I mean? Because De La Hoya's team and Canelo's side, Golden Boy, they said, oh, Triple G, we'll just give him a flat rate with a small percentage of the pay-per-view proceeds. And Triple G's team was like, nah, why don't we get a percentage? You know what I mean? And the next year, they got it together and renegotiated, got all the terms and agreed to it. And then the fight was made, and most likely we're going to get a rematch. So I firmly believe Eddie Hearn and AJ, if they keep winning, like if they beat Joseph Parker, they can make this fight. Even though Wilder's saying I want 50-50, who cares? That's part of the negotiating process. Find out. Like I said, you don't want to lowball yourself. That's what it boils down to. Wilder's not going to come in and go, hey, I'll take 15%. You know what I'm saying? That's just not how the game works. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. Make sure you smash the like button as always. Hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video, Ego signing off. So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxing Ego, the future of boxing.